Like a good neighbor. Can you hear the rest of that song from just a few words there? Probably, unless you've lived under a rock for the last 20 years. And you probably know what kind of pants that Jake wears too. But do you know who Jesus said was a good neighbor? Jesus said, mercy. Do that. Good morning and welcome to 755 Live. For about 5 minutes, you'll hear all about easy to remember soundbite versions of what Jesus said. And the point is to help you experience life to the fullest the Jesus way. Today's Jesus said comes from Luke 10:30 through 37 in the New Living Translation. And we're going to read that whole story about the Good Samaritan today. So, beginning in verse 30, Luke 10:30. Jesus replied with a story. A Jewish man was traveling from Jerusalem down to Jericho, and he was attacked by bandits. They stripped him of his clothes, beat him up, and left him half dead beside the road. By chance, a priest came along, but when he saw the man lying there, he crossed to the other side of the road and passed him by. A temple assistant walked over and looked at him lying there, but he also passed by on the other side. Then a despised Samaritan came along. When he saw the man, he felt compassion for him. Going over to him, the Samaritan soothed his wounds with olive oil and wine and bandaged them. Then he put the man on his own donkey and took him to an inn where he took care of him. The next day, he handed the innkeeper 2 silver coins, telling him, "Take care of this man. If his bill runs higher than this, I'll pay you the next time I'm here." Now, which of these 3 would you say was a neighbor to the man who was attacked by bandits? Jesus asked. And the man replied, "The one who showed him mercy." Then Jesus said, "Yes, now go and do the same." Now, who's my neighbor? The context of this story in Luke 10, the experts in the rules had asked Jesus a question, and they always had a motive. What's the most important rule? Well, the answer is actually the first part of the Today Church vision: love God, love people, love your neighbor as yourself. But wanting to justify his actions, the one asking the question here asked, who is my neighbor? And that's how Jesus came to the point of this story. He wanted to find an exception to the rule. I don't really have to do that, do I? And Jesus told a story about how adding to the rules misses the point. The hero of this story was a Samaritan who in this culture would have been an outcast. He would have been a villain. And the actual villain of the story was unsuspected because the villain ended up being the rule keepers, that they were so religious that their own rules kept them from the actual reason for the rules in the first place. Who was the one who loved their neighbor? Well, the outcast, the one who didn't fit in, not the one looking for exceptions to the rules. And so that leads us to the question, do you make good neighbor exceptions? We don't need to walk to the other side of mercy because of our exceptions to the rules by saying, well, not that neighbor. No, I'm not going to love that enemy. No, I'm not going to respect that leader, not that person in authority. Don't look for exceptions to the rules, but opportunities to experience mercy. Now, Jesus in Matthew 5 gave us what I like to call the be happies. And on this topic in verse 7, and I'm going to read from the West translation here. It's kind of an expanded translation. He says, "Spiritually prosperous are those who are merciful, because they themselves shall be the objects of mercy." You want to be blessed? You want to be happy? You want to be spiritually prosperous? Like a good neighbor. Mercy is there. Jesus said, mercy. Do that. How can you put that into action today? Thank you so much for listening. If this is meaningful to you, it really does mean a lot to me if you like it, if you share it, if you comment. Good morning, Johnny. Good to see you today. I really appreciate all of the support, and I hope that you have an amazing day, and I hope this time together has helped you live life to the fullest, the Jesus way. And remember, follow Jesus today. Love first.